Captain Jin wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the red horizon through the reinforced glass of the Mars outpost. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, their sleek black holes reflecting the pale Martian sun. For 3 days now, they had been circling the colony, waiting for something. Jin knew what they were waiting for. They wanted the humans to surrender. Captain, the shield generators are holding at 60%, reported Lieutenant Minho from the control station. His young face showed worry, but his hands remained steady on the controls. Jin had trained him well. The outpost buzzed with activity as colonists prepared for what might be their final battle. Children stayed in the underground shelters while adults took positions at various defense points. Everyone knew their role. Everyone understood what was at stake. Engineer Hannah crawled out from under a damaged console, her tools scattered around her. All stains covered her work uniform, and her short black hair stuck to her face with perspiration. She had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to find any advantage they could use against the aliens. Jin, come look at this, she called out, her voice filled with excitement. She pointed to her scanner display, where strange energy patterns danced across the screen. I've been analyzing their shield frequencies. Look at these readings. Jin hurried over, his heavy boots echoing in the metal corridor. The scanner showed wave patterns that pulsed in regular intervals. To most people, it would look like meaningless lines, but Hannah had found something important. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency, she explained, her fingers tracing the patterns on the screen. Every 47 seconds, there's a gap, a tiny window when their defenses drop to almost nothing. If we time our weapons perfectly, we could punch through. Before Jin could respond, a loud bang echoed from the east wing. Sparks flew from the main defense turret as its systems overloaded. The turret, their most powerful weapon, had been their last hope against the alien ships. Mechanic Tai was already running toward the damaged turret, his tool belt jangling with each step. He was the colony's best repair specialist, a man who could fix anything with enough time and spare parts. Unfortunately, they were running short on both. How bad is it? Jin shouted as he followed Tai to the turret bay. Tai was already deep inside the machine, his legs sticking out as he worked on the internal systems. His muffled voice came from within the turret. Power coupling is fried. The whole targeting system is down. Give me 2 hours, and I might have something working. We don't have 2 hours, Jin replied, watching the alien ships through the observation window. They were moving closer, their formation tightening like a noose round the colony. The communication system crackled to life, and the voice of the alien commander filled the outpost. The translation system converted their strange language into words the humans could understand. Human colony, this is your final warning. Surrender now, and we will allow you to live as our servants. Resist and face total destruction. The colonists looked at Jin, waiting for his response. Some faces showed fear, others showed determination. All of them trusted him to make the right choice. Jin picked up the communication device and spoke clearly into it. This is Captain Jin of the Mars colony. We will never surrender to you. This is our home, and we will defend it. The alien commander's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Foolish humans, you cannot win against our superior technology. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses are weak. While the alien spoke, Hannah continued studying her scanner. Her eyes grew wide as she discovered something new. The aliens weren't just using energy shields. They were using a network of connected shields that shared power between all their ships. Jin, she whispered urgently, their shields are linked. If we can overload one ship's defenses during that 47-second window, it might cause a chain reaction through their entire fleet. Ty's voice echoed from inside the turret. "I've got partial power restored. The targeting system is still broken, but we can fire manually. Someone will have to aim by hand." Jim realized they had a chance, but it would require perfect timing and incredible accuracy. One shot, fired at exactly the right moment, aimed at exactly the right target. If they missed, the aliens would destroy them all. The alien ships began descending toward the colony, their weapons charging with deadly energy. The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of every human on Mars rested in their hands. Jin looked at his team, Hannah with her brilliant mind, Ty with his skilled hands, and all the brave colonists who refused to give up. They were outnumbered and outgunned. But they had something the aliens didn't understand. They had the human spirit, and they would never stop fighting for their freedom. Commander Lee's voice boomed through the colony's speakers as emergency lights flashed red throughout the corridors. "All civilians to evacuation stations immediately. This is not a drill. Families with children report to Bay 7. Medical personnel to Bay 9. The underground tunnels filled with people carrying their most precious belongings. Mothers held babies close while fathers guided elderly grandparents through the narrow passages. Everyone moved with purpose, following the evacuation plans they had practiced countless times. Lee stood at the central command post, watching multiple screens that showed every section of the colony. His experienced eyes tracked the movement of people, ensuring no one was left behind. 20 years of military service had prepared him for moments like this, but seeing families torn from their homes still made his heart heavy. "Status report from Bay 7. Came a voice through his headset. 73 civilians secured, including 18 children, replied evacuation coordinator Sumi. "Loading them onto transport ship Falcon now." Meanwhile, pilot Nari sprinted across the landing platform toward the escape ships. Her flight suit was already zipped up, helmet tucked under her arm. She had been born on Mars, learned to fly in the thin atmosphere, and knew every ship in their small fleet better than anyone. The first ship, Roller, showed damage from the alien attacks. Scorch marks covered its hull, and one engine was completely destroyed. Nari ran her hands along the damaged areas, calculating whether it could still fly. "This one's grounded." She called her maintenance team. "Transfer everyone to Phoenix and Eagle." The Phoenix was their fastest ship, designed for long-distance travel to Earth. The Eagle was smaller, but more maneuverable, perfect for dodging alien fighters. Both ships would be packed beyond their normal capacity, but they had no choice daughters. Nari performed pre-flight checks. She noticed strange energy readings on her instruments. The alien ships were doing something new, sending out waves of electromagnetic pulses that interfered with human technology. Several, all smaller. Systems had already failed. "Lee, we've got a problem." Nari spoke into her communication device. "The aliens are jamming our navigation systems. I can fly blind if I have to, but getting to Earth will be nearly impossible without proper guidance in the research laboratory." Scientist Bin worked frantically at his computer terminal. Data streams flowed across multiple monitors as he analyzed the alien technology they had captured from previous encounters. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. He was too focused on finding a solution. Bin had spent his entire career studying alien power systems. He understood how their ships generated the massive amounts of energy needed for interstellar travel. More importantly, he had discovered that their power cores had a critical weakness. The aliens use quantum fusion reactors. He muttered to himself, typing equations rapidly. But they've never encountered human electromagnetic pulse technology. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he designed a special device using parts From the colony's power station, the plan was simple but dangerous. If he could create a powerful enough electromagnetic pulse, it would overload the aliens' quantum fusion reactors and cause them to shut down. The problem was getting close enough to use it. The device would need to be within 50 meters of an alien ship to work effectively. Commander Lee's voice crackled through the laboratory's speakers. "Bin, I need good news. The civilians are almost loaded, but we're running out of time." "I've got something," Bin replied, holding up a device that looked like a large metal box with glowing blue circuits. "This electromagnetic pulse generator can disable their power cores, but someone has to get close enough to activate it." Lee immediately understood the implications. It would be a suicide mission. Whoever carried the device would have to fly directly at the alien ships, knowing they probably wouldn't survive. Outside, the alien vessels descended lower, their weapons charging with deadly energy. The lead ship was enormous, easily 10 times larger than any human spacecraft. Its dark hull was covered with strange symbols that pulsed with purple light. Nari finished her checks on the Phoenix and ran to the command center. "Lee, both ships are ready. We can launch in 5 minutes. But those alien fighters will catch us before we clear the atmosphere. Not if we give them something else to worry about," Lee replied. Looking at Bin's device, "How long do you need to get in range?" Bin calculated quickly. 2 minutes. Maybe 3 if their shields are at full power. The evacuation coordinator's voice came through the speakers again. "All civilians loaded. Families are asking about their husbands and fathers who stayed to fight." Lee closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of his own family who had died in the first alien attack on Europa colony. He had sworn then that no more innocent people would suffer if he could prevent it. "Nari, take the civilians and go. Head for Earth's outer stations. Don't wait for us." "What about the fighters?" she asked, knowing the alien ships would pursue them. Bin smiled grimly as he picked up his electromagnetic pulse device. "They're going to be too busy dealing with their power problems to chase anyone." The final phase of their desperate plan was about to begin. The ground shook as alien dropships crashed into the Martian surface round the colony. Soldier Wu gripped his plasma rifle tighter. Watching through his scope as strange creatures poured out of the landed vessels, these weren't the sleek aliens they had seen before. These were something much worse. The creatures stood 8 feet tall on 6 legs, their bodies covered in thick armor that gleamed like black metal. Multiple eyes dotted their elongated heads, and their mouths opened to reveal rows of razor-sharp teeth. They moved with frightening speed across the red desert, heading straight for the main gate. Contact at the main entrance. Wu spoke into his headset, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. "I count at least 50 hostiles approaching from the north, behind the colony's main wall." Wu had positioned himself at the perfect vantage point. Years of military training on Earth had taught him how to defend a position against overwhelming odds. The key was to make every shot count and never let the enemy know your exact location. The first wave of creatures reached the outer defenses. Wu squeezed his trigger, and his plasma bolt struck the lead creature in the center of its chest. The alien stumbled but kept coming, its armor absorbing most of the damage. "Tough sons of guns," Wu muttered, adjusting his aim for the creatures' heads where their armor looked thinner. Inside the communication center, Officer Yin worked desperately to establish contact with Earth. The alien jamming signals made it nearly impossible to send any message beyond Mars orbit. Her fingers danced across the control panel, trying different frequencies and power levels. Static filled her headphones, broken occasionally by fragments of distant voices. Earth was so far away, and the alien interference was getting stronger by the minute. "Come on," she whispered, boosting the power to maximum levels. Someone has to hear us. The communication equipment sparked dangerously. She pushed it beyond its normal limits. Warning lights flashed red, but Ian ignored them. Getting help from Earth was their only chance of long-term survival. Outside, Wu had fallen back too. His second position as the alien creatures broke through the outer fence. He moved like a ghost through the colony's maintenance tunnels, appearing at different locations to take shots before disappearing again. The aliens were learning his tactics, though. They began splitting into smaller groups, trying to surround his positions. Wu realized he needed help, and fast. All defenders switched to Guerrilla Pattern 7. He commanded through his radio. Hit and run. Never stay in one place more than 30 seconds. The remaining colonists who had chosen to fight followed his lead. Engineer Deho emerged from behind a supply building. Fired 3 shots at approaching creatures, then vanished. Into the shadows, maintenance worker Inho used the ventilation shafts to move between buildings, striking from above before retreating. Dr. Murray, who had stayed behind to treat wounded defenders, proved surprisingly effective with a modified medical laser. She had converted her surgical equipment into a weapon that could slice through alien armor with precision. The creatures were getting frustrated. They had expected to overwhelm the humans quickly. But the defenders kept disappearing and reappearing, like phantoms. Every time the aliens thought they had cornered someone, their target would vanish through a hidden passage or emergency exit. Wu smiled grimly as he watched the confusion spreading through the alien ranks. Humans had been fighting guerrilla wars for thousands of years. These creatures might be stronger and have better technology, but they clearly didn't understand human tactics. From her position in the communication center, Ian finally heard a faint voice through the static. Mars Colony, this is Earth Defense. Station Alpha. We're receiving your distress signal. What is your status? Ian's heart jumped with excitement. Of defense. This is Mars Colony. We are under attack by hostile alien forces. Request immediate assistance. Repeat. We need help now. The response took several seconds to arrive due to the distance. Mars Colony. We are dispatching the nearest patrol fleet to your location. Estimated arrival time for hours. Can you hold until then? For hours. Ian looked at the tactical display showing alien forces surrounding the colony. The creatures were adapting to human guerrilla tactics, bringing in heavy equipment to blast through walls and barriers. We'll try our best. Earth Defense Colony. Outside. The battle was intensifying. The aliens had brought up massive war machines that looked like walking tanks. These mechanical beasts had multiple weapon arms and thick armor that could withstand the colonists' plasma fire. Wu watched from his hiding spot as one of the war machines tore through the colony's east wall. Like it was made of paper, the time for hit-and-run tactics was ending. Soon they would have to make their final stand. All units, fall back to the central compound. He ordered, prepare for close combat. The human defenders began their fighting retreat, using every trick they knew to slow down the alien advance. They collapsed tunnels behind them, created improvised barriers, and set traps using mining explosives. Each minute they brought Earth's rescue fleet closer, but the aliens were closing in fast. The sky above Mars suddenly filled with streaks of blue light as Earth's fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching the battle unfold below through the main view screen. The Mars colony was surrounded, but still fighting. Deploy all fighter squadrons immediately, Admiral Kim commanded, her voice cutting through the bridge chatter. Target those alien ground forces first. Our people down there need breathing room. 20 Earth fighters screamed through the thin Martian atmosphere. their engines leaving brilliant trails against the red sky. The alien creatures on the ground looked up in confusion as plasma bolts rained down from above, scattering their formations and destroying their heavy war machines. Inside the colony's central compound were heard the familiar sound of human engines. Overhead, "That's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard," he said into his radio, watching alien creatures retreat as Earth fighters strafed their positions. Admiral Kim opened a channel to the colony. "Mars Colony, this is Admiral Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're here to get you out of this mess." Commander Lee's relieved voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, we have critical information about alien technology. Scientist Bin has discovered a way to disable their power systems." Within minutes, Bin was explaining his electromagnetic pulse discovery to Admiral Kim and her technical team. The device he had built was small, but the principles could be scaled up using the fleet's more powerful equipment. "We can modify our torpedo warheads to carry M generators," suggested the fleet's chief engineer over the communication link. "But someone needs to get close enough to their main ships to make it effective." Pilot Nari, who had safely delivered the evacuated civilians to Earth's outer stations, had returned with the rescue fleet. She stood in the flagship's briefing room, studying tactical displays of the alien formation. "Their mothership is the key," she said, pointing to the massive vessel hovering above the alien craft. "It's coordinating all their ground forces and providing power to the smaller ships. If we can disable it, their entire operation falls apart." The mothership was enormous, easily the size of a small city. Its dark hull bristled with weapons, and energy barriers protected it from conventional attacks. Getting close enough to use Bin's EMP technology would require incredible skill and courage. Admiral Kim studied the tactical situation. "The mothership's shields are too strong for a direct assault. We need a distraction to draw their attention away from a small strike force. I'll take a fighter squadron and attack their flanking ships," volunteered Captain Hyan, one of Earth's most experienced pilots. "That should pull some of their defenses away from the mothership." Nari stepped forward. "I'll take the EMP torpedo in. I know Mars airspace better than anyone, and I can use the planet's magnetic field to mask my approach." The plan was dangerous, but it was their best chance. Admiral Kim gave the order, and the human fleet sprang into action. The main battle group engaged the alien escort ships in a fierce firefight that lit up space with weapons fire and explosions. Captain Hyan led 12 fighters in a daring attack on the alien left flank. His pilots dodged between the enemy ships, firing plasma bolts and drawing return fire away from Nori's approach vector. "Fox Squadron, break left and engage those destroyers," Hyan commanded, his fighter spinning between alien energy beams. "Tiger Squadron, stay with me and hit their command ship." The aliens took the bait, sending more ships to deal with the human fighters. Their formation shifted, creating the opening Nari needed, flying her modified fighter at maximum speed. Nari skimmed along Mars' surface, using canyons and rock formations to hide from alien sensors. The EMP torpedo was mounted under her ship, its weight affecting her maneuverability, but not slowing her determination. Approaching target zone, she reported, pulling her fighter into a steep climb toward the mothership's underbelly, beginning attack run. The massive alien vessel loomed above her like a metallic mountain, its weapon systems tracked toward her fighter, but she was moving too fast and too close for their heavy guns to target effectively. Alien fighter craft swarmed toward her position, but Earth's pilots intercepted them. "We've got your back, Nari," came Captain Hyun's voice over the radio as his squadron engaged the alien fighters in deadly aerial combat. Nari's targeting system locked onto the mothership's power core. Located deep within its hull, the EMP torpedo would need to penetrate several layers of armor to reach its target. But Bin's calculation showed it was possible. "Torpedo away," she announced, releasing the modified weapon at point-blank range. The EMP torpedo punched through the mothership's armor and detonated directly against its quantum fusion reactor. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive ship's lights began flickering as power failures cascaded through its systems. The mothership's shields collapsed, and its weapons went silent. Without their command vessel, the smaller alien ships began retreating in confusion. On the ground, the alien creatures suddenly stopped their attack and began falling back toward their dropships. Their coordination was gone, and human defenders pressed their advantage. The tide of battle had turned. The alien mothership drifted powerless in space, its massive hull dark and silent. Inside the crippled vessel, emergency lighting cast shadows as the alien commander stared at his failing control systems. He had never encountered a species like these humans before. "Supreme Commander," his lieutenant reported, his voice filled with confusion. "All our ground forces are requesting immediate extraction. Their coordination networks have failed completely." The alien commander's multiple eyes focused on the tactical display showing the battle below. His creatures, once perfectly organized killing machines, now wandered the Martian surface in small confused groups. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned his greatest strength into his greatest weakness. On Mars, Captain Jin watched through his binoculars as alien dropships landed near their scattered ground forces. The towering creatures that had seemed unstoppable just hours before now moved with uncertainty, constantly looking over their shoulders as they retreated. "To their transports. They're pulling back," Jin announced to his team. "All alien ground forces are withdrawing to their ships." Soldier Wu emerged from his defensive position, his armor scorched from battle but his spirit unbroken. "I've never seen anything like it. One minute they were tearing through our defenses, the next they just stopped fighting." Engineer Hannah climbed out of her makeshift workshop, holding a scanner that still showed the electromagnetic pulse effects spreading through the alien fleet. "Bin's device worked better than we hoped. Their entire command structure depended on that mothership's power network. The sight that followed would be remembered for generations." One by one, the alien dropships lifted off from the Martian surface, carrying their defeated forces back to space. The creatures that had seemed so terrifying now appeared almost pitiful as they fled from a planet they had expected to conquer easily. In space, Admiral Kim watched the alien fleets retreat through the bridge view screen. The enemy ships that remained functional were gathering round their disabled mothership, clearly preparing to leave the solar system entirely. "Should we pursue them, Admiral?" asked her tactical officer. Kim shook her head slowly. "No, let them go. They've learned what happens when someone threatens human colonies. That lesson is worth more than destroying their ships." Pilot Nari brought her fighter back to the flagship's hangar bay, where she was greeted by cheering mechanics and support crew. Her daring attack on the mothership had saved not just the Mars colony, but sent a message throughout the galaxy about human courage. "How does it feel to be a hero?" asked Captain Hine as Nari climbed out of her cockpit. Nari smiled tiredly. "I just did what any human would do. We protect our own, no matter the cost." Down on Mars, the evacuation ships that had fled to safety were already returning. Families reunited in tearful embraces as parents who had stayed to fight were reunited with their children. The colony's main plaza filled with people celebrating their survival against impossible odds. Communications Officer Ian finally received the message she had been waiting for. Earth's main command center was on the line, requesting a full report of the battle. As she began describing the events, she realized she was documenting one of humanity's greatest victories. The aliens had superior technology, larger forces, and better weapons, she reported to Earth Command. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated human determination. Scientist Bin found himself surrounded by other researchers who wanted to understand his electromagnetic pulse discovery. His simple idea, born from desperation and human ingenuity, had changed the course of the entire conflict. The beauty of human science, Bin explained to his colleagues, is that we never accept that something is impossible. We keep trying new approaches until we find a solution. Commander Lee stood at his command post, watching repair crews already beginning work on the damaged sections of the colony. The resilience of his people amazed him. Instead of wallowing in their losses, they were already planning how to rebuild better than before, sir. Reported his communications officer. We're receiving messages from colonies throughout the solar system. Everyone wants to know how we defeated the aliens. Lee smiled. Tell them the truth. We won because we're human. We adapt. We innovate. And we never give up. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying news of their defeat back to their home worlds, the humans of Mars began their recovery. The colony would be rebuilt stronger than before, with new defenses based on the lessons learned from this battle. The alien commander, nursing his wounded pride in his darkened command chamber, made a note in his species' military records. Humans, he wrote, were not to be underestimated again. They possessed something his people had lost long ago, the willingness to sacrifice everything for those they loved. Years later, when other alien species considered attacking human settlements, they would remember the Battle of Mars. They would remember how a small group of determined humans had defeated a vastly superior force through courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit. The Mars colony became a symbol throughout human space of what could be accomplished when people refused to surrender. The lesson was clear. Humanity would always fight for their homes, their families, and their freedom. The end.